Welcome to the Programmatic Digest podcast, a weekly roundup of top programmatic news with fellow programmatic ninjas. I'm your host, Ellen Parker, your very own programmatic sensei. Thank you for joining us today. Before we get into today's conversation, subscribe, like, and share. Leave us a comment if you need any more details. Visit our website, programmaticdigest.com, programmaticdigest.com, where you'll be prompted for our new weekly or monthly newsletter. It only alerts you when there's a new episode live. So thank you so much for all your support and love, and remember to be curious. Enjoy the conversation. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, Adam, to the Sensei's Corner. How are you doing today?
Great. Thanks so much for having me.
I am very excited to talk to the RZA of the
Yeah.
For those who don't know, this is Adam Heimlich, CEO of Chalice, Chalice.ai, right? And that's the website. And I will just let you introduce yourself, but make sure you mention why you're called the RZA of your team.
So, a company is called Chalice Custom Algorithms.
Okay.
So I founded it, starting myself around 2019, and then got two co-founders in 2020. And then coincidentally, both of those co-founders, like me, had a hip hop background. So I was a rap writer in the 90s, covered the Wu-Tang Clan. The RZA is my idol. So in our write-up, they called me the RZA of the company because I assembled the team the way the RZA assembled the Wu-Tang Clan.
The Wu-Tang Clan, got it. Okay, interesting. Yeah. So you say you had a background in music. You were a journalist in the music industry. Is that it?
Yes. Yeah, I was a rap critic throughout the 90s. I wrote for the Star Ledger in New Jersey, which is the paper that Tony Soprano is always reading, in Sopranos, and a weekly in New York called New York Press. You know, it was a different time before the internet. There were all these newspapers.
Yeah.
There were only a few people, reviewing records. Like maybe 20 people in all of New York have to review records. Funny to think now, now that there's millions of people who review records. But I got into marketing right when AdWords came out, 2002 careers. I became a search guy, did some social, jumped on programmatic when it came out, ended up being the head of programmatic at the biggest independent agency, Horizon. I started their trading desk and led it for a few years. I had a deep partnership with Trade Desk early on. And I was always into using the most advanced capabilities, right? I always just wanted to play with the latest toys and test the newest thing that was coming out. Around 2018, that was really starting to be what's now called custom algorithms, but I would just say projects are getting deeper into the data. Yeah. Right. People who know DSPs know that there is like a log file, right? Yep. Which calls REDS for the event data stream, raw event data stream, and even ad servers have raw log files, although that knowledge is a little bit lost since DoubleClick dominated the space. But when I go back to the agency Avenue A that built Atlas, and we used to work with raw Atlas data. So I always knew that the raw data is where the gems are, and that the ability to apply advanced analytics to raw data sets was how you get even better performance. So I left the agency world over there, they're a little more stagnant. I wanted to move more quickly. I was more entrepreneurial than all the agencies around 2018. I did some consulting with in-house teams, so I found to be really innovative, right, and moving faster. One of the things that inspired me to start Chalice was I read the case study of the Uber in-house team. I was a judge in the Ad Exchanger Awards. Their case study was building a custom algorithm using beeswax bid models to drive incremental rides on the Uber app. And it resulted in 800% lift in incremental rides. And I just I can remember that day, I put it down and I was like, well, everyone's going to do this. This should be my company. This is be an entrepreneur. So I was a little too optimistic. Not everyone is doing custom algorithms, but I was right that just about everyone should. Everyone as big as Uber for sure. So started the company. We did early work for the Biden-Harris campaign, for John Ossoff in the Georgia Senate runoff, and then landed some agencies and DTC brands, some direct brands. And then last year we kind of got put on the map all at once by Trade Desk
The Trade
investing in
Desk.
us.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, that was really, listeners know this about me already. I am extremely biased when it comes to the Trade Desk.
Yeah.
I credit the start of my journey in the programmatic realm to the Trade Desk because I was working for an agency. I was their first trader back in Virginia Beach, Virginia at that time. And the Trade Desk trained us. It was me and then another one of my friends, Sasha Sosa, that came on board a few months after, and we trained together. But the Trade Desk literally held our hand, trained us from like zero to the traders that we
What year was that?
Oh man, 2014.
Oh yeah, it's early. Yeah, it's early. Yeah.
And they had it was one of the agency. So the partnership happened via Goodway at that point, but the Trade Desk allowed us to test their trading academy at that time, and it was not out yet. And now the trading academy is called Trading Edge or something like the Edge Academy. And the midterm and the finals were like, I think 30 questions. Back in the day, it was 100 questions, y'all. So be grateful. It was 100 questions. And I failed a couple of them. Actually, all of them almost. I failed at least once. And you had to retake the whole thing. So yeah, great times. So I definitely credit the Trade Desk for starting that little, flame in terms of, wow, this is pretty much a pretty cool world, because that's my background started in organic social media and I hated it. And I got on the data-driven side and I was like, yeah, that's a little bit better. I can deal with this, but the other, no, I can't deal with people's emotions. So
I'm also inspired by the Trade Desk, like their philosophy that it's all your data. This is the advertiser's data, and they should make it all available to advertisers and useful for advertisers. Something that I found very inspiring. I wouldn't have started Chalice if Jeff Green wasn't out there in the marketplace talking about that and succeeding with a model based on data sharing. And really, same for Beeswax and Media Math have the same philosophy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And also very inspiring leaders who I consider friends.
Great. I haven't had the chance to work with Beeswax and Media Math, but currently, while I train certain agencies, if they want to start and they can afford something like a Goodway or a Trade Desk, then AdLib is one of the DSP that I recommend because I've used AdLibs and I think it was funded by Media Math, the Mac Hupman.
Oh yeah. I know that
So
though.
I really appreciate that platform because it gives almost the same advanced technology outside of the Google world to an agency or a brand that's starting out in programmatic and just want to take hold of their programmatic media effort. Which leads into today's conversation. We're going to talk about custom bidding and then agency trading desk, what it represents right now. What do you think it will represent in a few years from now, or any projections on that matter? But I only know so much about custom bidding. So walk us through exactly what that means, because I feel like I've Googled the term and it meant a few definitions. Which is common when it comes to Googling. So tell us what we should know about custom bidding and why it's so important to consider for a brand or an agency. Welcome to the Programmatic Meetup. Yay! I'm so excited about this community that we're building. It's going to be a safe space for media buyers, ad ops, programmatic ninjas, data analysts like you and I, just to come up and talk about our day-to-day challenges in our direct roles, some of our wins, and some of our opportunities to grow, to educate ourselves. Some of the topic of discussion includes anything from optimization, best practice, QA, templating, workflow, operational workflow. I'll have guest appearance. I'm bringing my network to you, and the best part of it is that you'll have one-on-one questions with them. Oh, so excited about this, yo. I'm so hyped. So what to expect in your membership, right? You can expect 1 hour call every first and third Wednesday of the month. Access to all the recordings for the paid members within our community. Discounted one-on-one consulting with me and some of the guests that will be gracing us with their presence and their appearance. Customizable trainings, but most importantly, your best friends, y'all. I'm very excited about this opportunity. This is a community for you and I. This is a community for us to just join forces and really share, really just being able to be together in a community. There's so much growth when you're in a community, when you're able to relate to people, or somebody understands where you're coming from different perspective, right? So join today. Programmatic Meetup community is open to you. Bring your friends. Tell your friends to bring his friends, to bring her friends and his friends to meet up with us. We respect you. We love you. We appreciate you. We're ready to support you. So make sure you join the Programmatic Meetup. Thank you. I'm so excited about this. Yeah, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm very excited about it. So thank you so much and see you soon.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So people get used to DSPs, thinking of DSPs as one product. Mm-hmm. Right. And we would say a DSP is really a bundle of several products. And we'll talk about two that are coming apart a little bit, right? Okay. The bidder and the algorithm. So the bidder is a robot, right? The bidder has pipes to, every website in the world except for the five walled gardens, right? And it has a tremendous computing power. Trade Desk says they bid in 9 million auctions per second, right? So that's extreme power they're considering, right? So all these integrations, pipes, and this incredible speed, we just think of as a bidding machine, right? And it throws off a huge amount of data, right? Okay. Potentially 9 million data points a second, right? And it's not just a single data point; it's a whole bunch of columns in the bid request and more columns on what happened, didn't happen, if you won, and the ad served, and there's even more columns. Yeah. Right? This enormous amount of data. So that's all straightforward technology, right? That's a robot, and it's great. Now, people got used to the idea that a DSP should also bid for you, right? That you shouldn't take this. It's too much data for you yourself to pull in and make decisions about. Yeah. So they do it. So the easy way to think about algorithms is scoring. Okay. Right? Every bid request gets a score based on a prediction of toward a goal, right? So I always I'll give you a simple example of scoring toward a goal that just takes it out of the technology world, right? Like, let's say you're trying to score a bunch of high school students for who's going to get into Harvard. Okay. Right? You might they have an SAT score, right? They have grades. That's a score. They have activities, and you might score them on that, right? And then maybe there's other factors that you think are important for Harvard, like did their parents go to Harvard? Maybe they get a score for that. So we, as people, the way the human mind thinks is you sort of look at the totality of the person, the student, and you're like, maybe you hear about their SATs and their grades, and you think, oh, she's going to Harvard. Like, we can look at it all at once. But the way a computer would do it would be a numerical score for each of these, mm-hmm. right? And then the highest scores are the most likely to get into Harvard, right? They don't look at the whole thing. They add up a bunch of scores, and that's what bidding algorithms do. There's a score for the user's likelihood to convert based on things the user has done before. There's a score for the website's likelihood, contribution, conversion for this customer. A lookalike model is just a score for how much any cookie looks like any other cookie, right? Yeah. It's just one score for how much alike it is, right? So there's this computation of scores is happening all the time. There's a whole bunch of ways to do it, right? So the DSP algorithm, the challenge of building those is that they have to work for everyone. Mm-hmm. Right? And they have to work fast, right? DSPs are trying to perform quickly, mm-hmm. as everyone knows, right?
Under 100 milliseconds to be exact.
Yeah, but they expect that people are going to test. They might test Trade Desk for 2 weeks. Yeah. Right? Media Mass might be in a bake-off that lasts mm-hmm. a month, right? So they basically they made the algorithms to kind of cut corners, mm-hmm. right? One thing they tend to do is pool data, right? If there's not enough data on one advertiser, they'll look at data from other advertisers to help score things, right? Google is the champion at this because everyone advertises with Google, right? As soon as you put an ad in Google, they know as soon as you upload an ad, a search ad, Google knows the propensity for it to be clicked for any query. They know already because they've already aggregated so much data. So propensity scores are built in. But that's not a great method for an individual advertiser, right? Who might be saying something really specific.
Yeah.
Another way they cut corners is they don't score. They can't score everything. Sorry about this car alarm. Is it loud?
Yeah, I hear it. I thought it was feedback from your computer. I was going to say something, but it's the car alarm. It's okay.
That's the sound of Brooklyn. Can we pause?
No, it's okay.
It's okay?
Yeah, I think it's fine. If we're not able to edit it out, I mean, this is just the beauty of working from home, so it's cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard my dog earlier, so he was he always beef with FedEx for some reason, even though that's just a dog. But yeah, continue. So so you're talking about scoring.
They don't score everything, right?
Yeah.
They can't score everything. So there's about 50 features that Chalice has access to. There's the things that come from the bid request, and there's features that we can make like the user's frequency and the recency, the last time they saw an ad.
Yep.
Sometimes we could get more detailed location data, code where the ad appeared instead of just the DMA. And it's all transaction data, right? It's not PII data. It's not who this person is, right? It's just data from the transactions. But there's about 50 things, right? And the normal DSP algorithm looks at the same 5, 7 for everyone, right? They only score 5 or 7 things. So if it turns out that zip code is a really good predictor for your business, it won't be included in the algorithm. And if frequency is a really important prediction for, persuading people to try your brand, it won't be part of the algorithm. Right? So people see the effects of this, right? If you run reports and you see that your impressions are clustering in cities, right? That's because there's no optimization by zip code. Yeah. And if you run a frequency distribution and you see a lot of people get only one ad, that's because frequency isn't part of the model, right? Right? So what Chalice does is we take all 50 features and we say, what predicts the choice of outcomes? The other thing we do is you let the customer choose the outcome. So maybe it's last touch conversions, but maybe it's first touch conversions. Maybe it's incremental conversions. Maybe it's store conversions. Maybe it's high value conversions. Maybe it's only new buyers. Maybe it's only second purchase, which is a big deal for retail, right? So we take that choice of outcomes and we look at the 50 features and we show them what predicts that. Can I put something on the screen so people can see an example?
Yep, those would be for the YouTubers. So if you're listening to the audio right now,
you won't see it?
No, they won't see it. It's okay. It'll be on YouTube. You can share.
Okay, sharing is disabled.
I have to make you something, right? A host or something. Oh, there it is. Yes, good to be co-host.
Okay. Have the right file. Okay, cool. So we look at all the features that might predict the outcome. Maybe it's second purchase. Let's imagine this is second purchase. Okay. So here's a list of 20 things we found to be important. And then this is a really simple one. We decide to build a model. We pick 7 that predict conversion, right? Here they are. Day of week, the domain, the 7-day recency, which is not in the bid request, point we have to build, platform operating system, the ad position, the ads TXT, and the zip code, right? And now we quantified, this is how much they matter for second purchase.
Wow.
Right?
Day of the week, the most.
Day of the week is huge, right? This is a product that people get on Fridays because they want it on the weekend.
Okay.
And so it's hugely important. But it was revelatory for the client that day of the week is so important for conversion.
Yeah.
Right? Then we would build a model. This is 54,000 rows of every combination of those 7. So this is what an algorithm looks like, right? Yeah. It's the values, they go all the way down until they get red. Every single one gets a score. These all get uploaded. And this is actually just the beginning. This is the starting point. And what we're going to add on then is what does it actually cost? What does this bid request actually cost to get? And then we get the ratio of those. So every bid request has a value and a cost and a ratio. And then the algorithm tries to get the best cost to value ratio for the entire budget.
Gotcha. So let me just recap this perfect gem that you just dropped. If you were a book, I would have probably highlighted the whole chapter. So basically, I think everybody should have access to custom bidding at this point because it just makes targeting. I'm going to sound cliche, y'all. I don't care. It just makes targeting more relevant. But from a consumer perspective, it makes it ultra relevant because now we're able to determine based on additional scoring, which you determined as I'm going to call them levers that we have access to. And some of those levers you mentioned are day of the week, frequency, recency, sorry. So you have access to about 50 of those targeting levers. That's how I call them, which to us buyers could represent a pre-bid filter. So we add all those pre-bid filters, and then in the auction, it just goes through boom, 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 boom. And if the scorings are high for any of the those filters, then we get the ad served.
Yep.
And based on that, we're able to track and measure, of course, the data and then the results and optimize from that. So this is really
just add one thing. It's a little better than a pre-bid filter because it doesn't just go in once. It keeps rescoring. It could be every week. It could even be every day.
So it's fresh data. Like it continues to update.
Learns.
It continued learning. Okay, that's where the machine learning came from because I'm thinking back on one definition. They love to throw that word machine learning. It's like, cool. That's whole programmatic.
Machine learning means that the scores are updated as it gets more and more outcome data, right? Just like in our analogy, like once you see who gets into Harvard, you might readjust the scores and be like, I didn't count SAT enough, right?
So, and how exactly do you do the scoring again? Is based on the consumer behavior?
Yeah.
It's that KPI?
We take these huge data sets of all the bid requests that came in, the ones that drove conversions and the ones that didn't drive conversions. And then the statisticians do their magic. It's what algorithms actually are those methods of our scoring methods.
I see. Okay. So how can someone that's listening to this conversation take it home and and execute on? Like, how can they go to their team, they go to their manager, they go to the decision maker and say, I think we need this.
Yep. So the caveat is to have your own bid model, you have to be buying millions of impressions, right? And driving thousands of conversions.
Okay.
We might, at some point we will have a product for smaller advertisers, but today it's truly custom, right? If, what's this company? I'm just going to pick a company at random. If Spindrift asks us to build an algorithm, we're only going to use Spindrift data in it. That's the way we're going to market today. So if they don't, I know they have 1,000 conversions a week, so they're eligible. I don't know if they're buying millions of impressions, but maybe they should be. It's a great product. So my pizza place across the street isn't going to be big enough. But because we don't merge data, your own data has to be powerful enough to reach what we call statistical significance. So that the scores are meaningful.
Okay. And we get that a lot too when you work with like the big players like LiveRamp. In order to use any CRM data, it has to have a minimum of.
There's minimums.
There's minimums. Yeah. So it makes sense. The larger the data, the more, when you said statistically relevant it is. So,
getting started, you can just email me, Adam at Chalice AI.
Yeah. And all your information will be in the show notes and it'll be on the social post that week as well. But I think it's a really cool concept. And I want to understand how Chalice is viewing cookie deprecation. That's not a question I like to ask lately because we only are obsessed with this. Like there's always that one thing we're obsessed with. But I'm really curious because this is very data driven. It's very, even though it's first party data that you're using. Like, what's your take? How is that going to affect any type of custom bidding or any type of first party data use?
Yeah, I'm glad we had a good intro to talk about this. It's going to be easier to talk about than other times because I actually showed a model, right?
Yeah.
You see the 7 things that I showed in that, none of them were user ID, right? None of them were user ID. So because the whole ecosystem was built up modeling everything on the user ID, cookie loss looks like this huge catastrophe. But user ID is just one field out of those 50.
Okay.
So the first thing I would say is it's a big problem if you're trying to build an algorithm for everyone. Yeah. User ID is the most important thing. But for you as an individual advertiser, user ID might not be that important to your business, right? Maybe you can predict on day of the week and zip code and recency and those other things.
Yeah.
Right? And then in which case, cookie deprecation has nothing to do with you. You're just going to keep doing open web programmatic without IDs. If user IDs are really important to you, they are for many businesses. Like in telecom, they really need to know what phone you're carrying and whether or not you're someone who prepays or postpays for a phone. Then you just need a data partner, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's cookies are going away, but data isn't going away, mm-hmm. right? Data is mostly moving to the publisher side, mm-hmm. right? Yeah. So this publisher data is coming through places like LiveRamp and Trade Desk UID 2.0, and you need partners and infrastructure to operate in that world. But if you can operate in that world, then algorithms just apply just the same.
Gotcha. And it seems like this will be also a perfect. I mean, I'm going to intelligently say that this is something that every brand should use. But in terms of like best in terms of industry that it could fit, it sounds like retailers could really benefit from this. Would you think? Like online retailers, D2C. What do you think? What's your take on that?
We really like the traction in CPG and auto, mm-hmm. because they haven't fallen into the habit of doing everything on performance. Mm-hmm. So it's really about the amount of change. Like we represent a different way of working, right? It's a little much for people to talk mm-hmm. about dealing with these large data sets and a way of working where a partner is ingesting the 6 billion data set, 6 billion. It's 6 billion a week for our auto client. And they're actually, to some extent more comfortable with that going out as exhaust and for that to be captured and analyzed, right? Because for 10 years, that data has been going out into the ether as exhaust. Yeah. And now we're capturing and looking at it, and it represents a much different way of doing business. So what we find a lot, and it's human nature, but it's a little sad, is that in the world of retail, finance, travel, where performance marketing has reigned, people are threatened by this new way of doing business. Like they're reluctant. It feels like too big a change, and that they have so much structure built around performance that they don't want to rock the boat and knock it down. So that's what we're seeing right now. But I would agree with you that they should. That the opportunity is enormously there. Something like second purchase is such a big deal for retailers, mm-hmm. right? And in finance, like being able to predict the customer's lifetime value, that's the whole game in finance.
Yeah, I mean, it makes so much sense too, because now you're becoming more niched in how you're looking at your data and how you're reading it, right? So now you know exactly how to invest. There won't be as much, I don't like that word, but wasted investment or, testing or guessing work, because we play a lot on the guessing, like it's like guess marketing or guess programmatic, programmatic. So I feel like knowing exactly that information and that data would be able to really help the brand or help anybody else working on that team make certain decision. And ultimately you are saving up, or at least you're gaining from that.
Yes. It pays for itself.
Yeah, it does pay for itself. It makes sense. So now let's shift the conversation towards agency trading desk before we close segment. Yeah. And the reason why I wanted to kind of pick your brain on that is because what is your take on agency trading desk? Is it becoming more popular? Is it becoming less popular? Brands are moving in-house. Brands are not moving programmatic in-house. How is Chalice? What's Chalice's point of view, or Adam's point of view on this?
Yeah, it ties right into what we were just talking about. I was saying how change is tough, and maybe when I started the company, I overestimated how ready the marketplace is for something. Like it's kind of been my whole career. Like I did search in 2002, and I was like, oh, everyone should do search marketing. It's incredible. Yeah. And it wasn't until like 2006 that search became a big deal. So, and then, same with social, same with programmatic. So I'm always a little bit ahead, and it can be frustrating that, I meet people like you who totally agree. And even we pitch clients who totally agree, like, oh, we should be doing this. This is definitely a better way to operate.
Yeah.
But then they just don't.
They don't execute on it. Like
they don't execute. Yeah. They become reluctant or afraid. So we always wonder, like, so we say, like, it's not going to change without pressure. And people in my age who've been in digital since the beginning, we often talk about, like, what's going to change? Like, where's the pressure going to come from? Some of it comes from DTC brands, including our clients, who are just much better at marketing. Or like Uber and Netflix are so much better at digital marketing that they've clobbered their competition, right? And it's like, you're not going to start companies, like entertainment companies have to pay attention to the way Netflix operates with machine learning first, right? So that's one pressure point. But the pressure point we didn't expect that's driving adoption of our business was the people not wanting to work on agency trading desks anymore. So the trading desks are huge, and in-housing hasn't really hurt them. Like, they're still enormous. Like the one, like Matterkind at IPG and Xaxis at WPP, and Publicis has one called Precision. Like they're enormous. Like I ran a big one, and those are much bigger. Amnet at Dentsu, they're hundreds and hundreds of people, and they're moving billions of dollars. So they're not going away, though some clients are in-housing, or talk about in-housing or partially in-housing, like they're real. But what's happening right now is they're hurting for people, right? Like the jobs on the trading desks are being rejected by the people who are skilled to do them.
Yeah.
That's a topic that Chalice's CEO, Ali Manning, wrote about recently, and that we were chatting about before we started. Is that these people are leaving because the job, we would say, it feels like you're working for the technology, right? And that trading desk should really pay attention. If you're in charge of a trading desk, you should really pay attention to the workers' feelings that they're working for a platform and their jobs are meaningless, right? Because what we found is that when grunt work is automated and an algorithm and there's a machine that's learning its bidded, the humans are really freed up to do the work that only humans can do, which is creative optimization, developing hypotheses and tests, right? And just using your imagination. Like, why is this happening? Why is day of the week important? Why is this zip code better than that? Right? How do we test and find out? Like, that work is marketing, and it's mostly gone from the agency trading desk. Like, right, when I started search, like, I remember my fascination in doing my first search ads. It's just like, what's happening out there? Like, how do people see this? Like, why did this ad perform better than that ad? And one thing I learned early on is if you have a number with a lot of zeros, it gets more clicks. Like, what is that? Like, like I think the ability to be curious, to test, be curious, and that's what being a media person really is, right? Being a mass media person is like being any kind of performer, really, because what you're thinking about is how does one person communicate with millions, right? What are millions of people thinking? And data is just a signal of that, right? So the machines are pretty good at interpreting the data, but there's a real human piece of that that's really creative work that the trading desk should think hard about trying to bring back. And we think it's something that Chalice can help with.
I think it's super important. The most important keyword here is the people. Like, you got to remember them. I mean, I know programmatic is sexy and it's a lot of automation involved, and you can become very, very smart in the way you're performing things from a programmatic perspective. But like, y'all, remember your people. Like the average ad ops person stays 2 years or less.
They're burning out.
Yeah, and then I remember there was like a lot of articles a few years ago calling millennials not loyal to their companies. I feel like it's because of what we know we can bring, what is important to us, and what we want to accomplish. And so if that company is not ready to mold, how is that? If you're not willing to be flexible with the people that's going to make you the money, how do you think? How do you think your consumer or your customer are going to feel? Or like eventually it's like a balance. Everything has to be as balanced as possible, and the investment you make in your people are going to bring you results. Like a happy team is a productive team that brings results. But it's so weird. It's like that. It's literally that simple. It's that simple.
Yeah.
And Ali, she said in her LinkedIn post, and actually I'll plug it in the show note as well. She said like the days off cannot no longer replace all the other benefits. Like, yeah, I want a day off. Cool. But I actually want a day off and some more, like a true day off unplugged. I like one of the clients, he said, so I'm taking 2 weeks off in August. And the team was like, bet, no problem. And he's like, no, y'all, I'm taking a European 2 weeks off. You will not hear from me. I no longer exist to you. So by this time on Friday, of course, he's a CMO. So maybe at that level, there's a certain, like, I don't think his coordinator can say things like that. But he said, you will not hear from me for 2 weeks. I don't want to hear from you. Don't text me. You're done. You're blocked from my phone. Matter of fact, I don't even have a phone. So I love that idea. I'm like, everybody should be able to unplug.
Yeah, that's crazy. We're going to try to advocate that for our employees at Chalice. It's tough in programmatic when you're running day to day. But I used to vacation like that, and I want that for my employees.
The best thing ever.
But I think it's a little dangerous for the agencies, because if people do that, they come back to their job. Like the best agency employees, and I'm guilty of this too, like our best employees are the ones who just sit at their desk all day, never take their eyes off the screen or their hand off the mouse, and optimize and traffic. And it's like, everyone, of course they're going to burn out. Like, they got to get up from the desk. They got to go to client meetings. They have to go to creative meetings and understand what this brand is trying to do. Like I have a lot of passion about advertising, right? And it's like out of style, but like I've always loved media. I've always enjoyed ads. I've always been curious about what happens. And I think people should. I would encourage people who feel that way not only to speak out, but to demand jobs that let you express that passion, curiosity. It's good for the economy for brands to be better at communicating with customers. Right? It's good for America if American companies and American ads are better. Like it creates efficiency.
I was reading Who Not How by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Ben Hardy, and he said somewhere in the chapters, he said that 86% of your creativity actually happens outside of your work environment. Like if you notice, you're in the shower and you think about your $1 million ideas, or you'll be swimming, or you literally walk the dog and then something brilliant happens. And this has happened so many times to me. Even when I was a buyer, like I'll think about something like, dang, I didn't try this yet. And then I'll come back the next day and try it and it'll work. So we're just going to end this with that. Like, y'all, you need to step away. Of course, in order to become master of what you do is practice and repetition. We agree. But just because you have to repeat certain thing like you did today, it does not mean that you're not allowed a break. So remember your person, remember your health, remember your mental health, your soul. And before we
imagination.
And remember your creativity, feed it. Don't be afraid of trying something different personally, because it's almost like a good way of spreading the energy in your professional life as well. Which I think it's a good segue into my next question. So I think we're going to shift a little bit, and then we're going to talk about you.
Okay.
Before we end the podcast. So I like to end the podcast with this question. I ask everybody this question, like to tell me 3 fun facts about yourself. You already told us one earlier about working and being a rapper.
Okay.
Yeah. So tell us 2 more.
I'm a descendant of the Mongolian invaders of Europe.
Oh, okay.
There's a birthmark that indicates that.
Oh, wow. You got to send us more information on that. I'm going to add everything in the show notes because somebody's going to want to see that. Well, is it appropriate to ask to see a birthmark nowadays?
It's not there. It's only babies have it, and it's blue. My son had it too.
Oh, interesting. That's really cool.
Yeah. And it was thought to be like probably not true, that this blue birthmark means that you're a Mongol descendant, but then I was genetically tested and confirmed it.
Oh, nice.
The Mongols, yeah, were like Chinese people who occupied most of Eastern Europe only like 500 years ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think that's a fun fact.
That is a very fun fact.
What else? My children are obsessed with Halloween. I'll show you all the pumpkins we have so far.
Wait, hold up. You said Halloween already?
Already, we've been to the pumpkin patch. And here, can you see this witch that's already hanging up?
Oh, yeah. I see it. Oh my gosh, this is so funny.
We have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and yeah. It's
that's fun.
It's almost Halloween all year round here, but when the stores start selling Halloween stuff and the pumpkin patch is open, it's really madness.
That is so interesting. Well, thank you for sharing with us today. What is one word of wisdom or a quick advice for our listeners? Like, if you had to tell yourself, your freshman self, this, what would it be when you first started in the industry? What is one thing you wish you knew?
That I wish I knew. I think I would. It's going to sound self-serving, but I wish that older people tried to give me advice. I ignored a lot of good advice from older people. I don't know if that could be. Is there anything I could do about that?
Nah, like I think it's a good advice. Like, listen to people that put some work in. Listen to people that have more experience than you.
Yeah, I never trusted that they had my best interest at heart, or that it was relevant, that their experience was relevant to me. And I guess it's hard to tell when you're young. Like, is this person just telling me this because they that they have, they're stuck on it. They're stuck on it for their own lives, or they're really trying to help. That's certainly not one word. I think the one word for me is curiosity. Like, if you work in advertising, you're not curious about what's going on in the data, then you should get out. You should do something else. Like, this is the future of it is going to be more like traditional marketing.
Yeah.
Driven by curiosity, passion, and imagination.
Yeah. I think it's a good way to end. And most of the guests on the podcast talk about curiosity and the courage to ask questions. So I think it's the best way to end this. So thank you so much for dropping by.
It was amazing. Thanks so much.
Yeah. For anyone that wants to reach out to you, how do they do that? Yeah,
you could use Adam at Chalice AI. You could email me. There's the form on the website. And Ellen, I would think you should have both my co-founders when you have time to get them around. But
I already have like so many questions to keep asking, but I'm like, I want to be respectful of your time, and I'm going to email Ali right after this because
so Ali's amazing at go-to-market and workplace culture.
Okay.
And Ken Rhoda, our head chief data scientist and technologist, is like, he's a PhD economist and statistician, and he builds the algorithms that we drive. But he could explain stuff. He's really good at explaining stuff like a professor. So if you really want to talk to someone like with the really lofty technical knowledge of custom algorithms and data, who can explain it, like Ken would be amazing. And I chose the role of company CEO, but the three of us run the company, and I don't mind being out and the spokesperson and stuff, but I really think that my two co-founders are potential stars. So I'm always trying to push them into the limelight in front of the cameras if you're willing to talk to them.
Oh, absolutely. I'm always open for more guests, and I appreciate the recommendation. And actually, you talk about being a team and being successful. There's an African proverb that says, if you want to go quickly, you go alone, but if you want to go far, you go together. So I think that's what you represent. And I love the fact that you brought in your team. So thank you so much for the recommendation.
That could be a meta.
Yeah, I will most likely reach out to them.
Do you have sponsorship yet?
I don't, and I should.
Yeah, let's talk about that too. Let's talk about that offline.
Okay, let's do that. Thank you so much.
Have a good one.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your love and support. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. If you have any questions, feedback, or just simply want to say hi, email us at info@programmaticdigest.com. You can also visit the website programmaticdigest.com, where we're always looking for guest hosts. We're also looking for sponsors. So hit us up if you're interested.